go ahead and get started then. I like to start on time. It's 8:47, so we're pretty close to being right there. I always think it's important to be punctual. And, you know, in my business and my profession, if I show up to a listing appointment 5 or 10 minutes late, that spells disaster right off the bat. So I always like to be early. You know, I used to be in a school in South Carolina, Walla Halla. It was a missionary school. And they said to be on time is to be late, and to be early is to be on time. So that was kind of the punctual. And that doesn't come natural for me. I am not naturally a punctual person. Naturally, I fight timelines, you know, kind of have more of that entrepreneur mindset that likes to go and come as I please. And so I've always fought that. But in the beginning of 2026, I am so excited to be back in a routine. I actually think there's freedom in routines. So that's how far I've come in nearly 50 years. Today, guys, I want to talk to you about something that, well, I'll just be honest, it doesn't sound very exciting. And but it is absolutely necessary, faith, for your growth. And that word today I want to talk about is pruning. I prayed about it and I was like, Lord, what's a good message to start off 2026? And that was the word he gave me, pruning. And I want you guys to see that. Pruning is not to punish you, but to prepare you. It's in the preparation. You know, the Bible tells us this. He said, many's called, but few are chosen. Why do you think a lot of people don't make it to chosen? Because they can't handle the prepared time, right? You can be called, right? There's always a call going out, but are you able to be prepared? Are you able to go through the testing time? You know, guys, if you were to drive by my driveway right now, where I live, you might see a bunch of trees out there. And there are somewhere around 35 Bradford pear trees that I have out there. My dad does tree topping. And he'd often do that during the winter time. And there was a couple reasons for that. One, he wanted to stay busy. He did paving and seal coating. So had to find something to do during the winter, and he wanted to stay busy. But also, there's a proper time to prune a tree, and that is during the winter. And I would never forget, Duke, when I was young, I used to love going with my dad to go tree topping. Man, he had this bucket truck, Robert. He'd go 75 foot straight up in the air. Renee, we'd get up there in that truck, and it'd be a windy day, and that thing would just start rocking. And it was scary, but it was fun too. And I love getting up there with Dad. I love topping and dropping those trees, right? We'd get all the way up there to the top, and we'd start dropping those tree limbs. And you always had to be careful, right? You needed a big guy like Trace that could grab the log while I'd be up there cutting. A lot of times I wasn't the one cutting, I was the one grabbing. But you needed somebody that had a little muscle that could grab that log and then make sure it didn't hit a shed or a house. You had to throw it away from things. And a lot of times when you first got going it would look worse than when you started. I mean, like it would look like a mess. You'd look around like one half of the tree would be up here, the other half would be down here. There'd be brush laying around everywhere. And it was just a mess. But once you've kind of finished up, it'd look a lot better. And what I learned then, and I didn't really understand this, I understand this a lot better now than I did at that time. But Dwayne, pruning those trees wasn't to hurt the trees. It was to prepare the trees. For what? For spring. So when spring comes, they would look fuller, better, healthier. They'd bear more fruit. They wouldn't be bowed over by the weight of the other branches that weren't really adding value to the tree. They wouldn't be cracking over. It was to help them become more splendid than they were before. And so what I learned that there's a right time to prune. And the winter is that time. And there's really 3 reasons for it. One, it's just lighter. Like it's less stress on the tree. If you go down there during the winter and you start chopping on a tree, there's just less stress on it. Number 2, there's no leaves, right? So you can see clearly, Kayla, what you need to get to. You can just focus right in and see the unhealthy branches. You can focus in and clearly cut out the ones that are not adding value to the life of the tree. And then thirdly, you did all this so that when it come back, it had the best chance, Faith, of coming back alive in spring. So when spring would come in, that thing would start to blossom out. It'd be fuller, it'd be bolder, it'd be more fruitful than ever before. And so that's the value of knowing when to prune. I'm just going to tell you guys a quick story about myself, all right? Dwayne, I'm going to tell on myself here a little bit. When I first got born again, August the 8th of 1998, Kayla, I was 22 years old. And I'll never forget, Robert, the Lord started dealing with me right away. And he said, you're going to have to quit that negative put-down humor. And I thought, that's all me and my friends did all day long. You guys maybe did that when you grew up with your friends too. I don't know. Maybe that was just being in my 20s thing. Maybe you didn't do it. I don't know. My folks are from the north. We love to put each other down. So we just make fun of each other all day. I'm 22 years old, and I felt like the Lord put his finger on me right there, Trace, and he said, you're going to have to cut out that put-down humor. And I never forget, I said, well, Lord, if you cut that out, then what am I going to do? That's 40% of my speech. Like, that's 40% of the conversations I have. I'm like, what am I going to talk about? And I'll never forget, it's one of the few times I didn't feel like the Lord answered me. Like, I think often when I ask the Lord a question, he gives me an answer, Renee. It's not usually like he's trying to hide it from me. But that day, it was just like, don't worry about it. Just do what I say. And so the Lord started pruning that out of my life. And Dwayne, in a very short time, people would come to me and they would say, and you're going to have a hard time believing this, but people would say, man, you're a great encourager. You always encourage me. You're always encouraging people. And I thought, man, that ain't the Elijah I remember. This guy was always putting people down, making fun of people. And so when he prunes something out of your life, it's for your good. It's not to hurt you. It's to prepare you. How about you guys? Maybe you went through a pruning time in your life. Maybe you're going through a pruning time. And you know, what things does the Lord want to prune out of our lives? Is it negative thinking? Maybe being self-critical, too hard on yourself, self-critical of yourself and of others. You know, overachievers have a habit of doing that. Maybe it's jealousy, envy, comparison trap. I don't know if you all have ever suffered with that. Laziness, lack of commitment. Maybe it's people, places, things. Whatever it is, it's important that we understand that there's a season for those things getting pruned out of our lives. You know, the Bible tells us, it's in John chapter 15, he tells us very clearly that Jesus is the vine, we're the branches, and God's the gardener. The Father's the gardener. Just like my dad would go up there and top those trees, God, our Father, our Heavenly Father, wants to do some pruning in us. And when's the best time to do it? During the winter, like it is now. See, and pruning's always a little uncomfortable, right? It can be discomforting. It can feel awkward. You know, when you're going up there and you're cutting those trees down and you're cutting, and all of a sudden one half of it's up here and the other half's on the ground, it just looks awkward. When we go through a pruning time, it can be very awkward. It can be very uncomfortable. Faith, I would say when you start a new job, sometimes that's a little awkward, right? Because you go from like where you know everything, you're the boss where you're working at, to a new job where you got to learn everything over again, and you're like, man, I feel like that little kid again. So it can be fun, it can be exciting, like when I'd get up there on that bucket truck, but it can also be scary, and it can be a little unnerving. So that's part of being pruned. It ain't going to feel comfortable generally. But remember, it ain't meant to hurt you. It's meant to prepare you for greatness so that we can have our best 2026 ever. See, God wants to get in there and he wants to do some pruning. He wants to cut out some stuff in our lives. Some people, some things, some places, some thoughts. You know, maybe it's negative thinking. It's keeping you small from growing to being your best. But the thing is that during the winter, when God can get in there, then you can see clearly what needs to be. The branches in your life that ain't bearing fruit, that are taking energy and not giving energy. And guys, what got us into 2025 or got us through 2025 may not be enough to get us, that same stuff may not get us through 2026. Like God may have bigger and better plans for you right now. That if you kept doing what you did in 2025, it may not allow you to be your best in 2026. So the Master God is in there pruning, cutting, gardening, and he's doing it because he wants what's best for you. Now the challenge is we got to let him do that. Right? God, when he put his finger on me in that time and said to quit that negative talk, quit that put down humor, have you ever said no to God before? I've probably got 2 or 3 things right now I'm struggling with that I know God's been trying to put his finger on. I'm like, God, I don't know if I'm ready to give you that or not yet. You know what I mean? Like, so we've got to allow him. And let me ask you this. Don't you think it'd be a better world? Don't you think our lives personally would be so much better if we just let God go in there and do the work that he wants to do? that He is a master at doing. And we can trust Him to do that work. So I want you all to think about it. Just take a moment right now, and we'll pause, and let's think about that. What is something in your life, and you may want to write it down if you got something to write on right now, but what is something in your life that you feel God's wanting to cut out, He's wanting to cut back? It's something that, again, He don't cut back fruitful. He don't cut on you unless you're fruitful. I mean, it's generally going to be fruitful things that He might even be cutting out of your life right now. Sometimes it's hard. So, what is that? And guys, if you'd be so bold, if you felt led, speak it out. Because I'm telling you, there's power in community. There's power in bringing things that are dark into the light, right? Like when you make a bold, say something out loud, all of a sudden now you got something, momentum going behind you, but also you feel more inclined to commit to that climb. I'll go first, Duke. I'll share first. For me, something that I felt like this year the Lord's going to be cutting out of my life is, and Lindsay don't love it, but I love to watch murder shows. Like I'll watch on my TV, I love the whole watching the whole mystery pull out, and it's just crazy some of the silly things people do. I love watching those programs. I could lose hours to that stuff. But here's the thing. I want to commit this year to writing another book. And I did my last book that will be coming out this year is called How to Elevate Your Rental Income and Rental Wealth. How to Elevate Your Rental Wealth. Well, this year I want to do something else. I don't even know what it is yet. But I do know I need to give myself a couple hours. I got to carve out, I got to cut out a couple hours to do that if I'm going to do it. And that means I got to get some stuff out. So the murder shows and stuff like that, they'll go, and thus will come in time to write. So it don't have to be something major, guys. And again, sometimes it may not even be unfruitful things that are getting snipped out of your life. But what do you want to see pruned this year? When God took out the negative and critical talk, He gave me encouragement and positive talk. So whatever He's taken out, He's probably going to bring forth, it's just so that the tree can bring forth even better fruit. So what is it? What's something that maybe the Lord's dealing with you this year? See, guys, there's power in bringing it to light. There's just power in bringing it out loud. It's like we can keep it in the closet or we can bring it out. And when we do that, generally, we're getting closer to where we need to be. It don't mean I'll get my 2 hours in. Don't mean you'll change overnight, right? It's like what Mr. Roberts said earlier. It takes habits and patterns to get that way. And a lot of times, a little extra accountability. Duke, thank you for sharing that. Anything else, guys? All right. I just kind of want to wrap this up then, and you guys have been great. We're really in good time here. But I just want to say this, that wouldn't it be a better world if we really allowed God to go in there and just prune and cut out the things that are not healthy in our lives? And it ain't like maybe it's even bad things. It could be good things. I remember when I came away from working with the folks that were buying to start working on the selling side, that was hard for me. Because I loved working with folks that were buying. There was nothing wrong with that. It was very healthy. But God was calling me to a different place. And so He had to cut out something that was even fruitful in my life so that I could bear more fruit in another area. So when He's cutting, just remember, it's not to hurt you, it's not to harm you, it's to prepare you. Many are called, few are chosen. Many won't go through the preparation that it takes to become great. They'll stay stuck. And stuck ain't great. We want to get unstuck. So they won't allow that preparing. I know that just like cutting out those unhealthy branches, it can be cutting out people, places, ideas, limiting beliefs. There's just so many things that we got to allow God, the gardener, to go in there and start cutting on. And here's what I want to say. Not only does it affect us, guys, it generally affects the people that are closest to us. Silently, when we're not allowing God to go in there and do the work that He's wanting to do and prune those things, it's not just going to affect us. It's usually going to silently affect the ones that are closest to us. Remember, when God's pruning on that tree to cut back those unhealthy branches, or maybe even sometimes healthy branches, but He needs to cut them out so you can, maybe He's even cutting out some opportunities so that you can see clearly where you need to put your focus. So you can see clearly the areas that you need to see grow. So when God's doing that, it ain't just for you, the branch. Usually it's for the whole tree. Usually it's to help the whole family. It's to help the whole community. It's to help that whole tree grow back and be its best. So my encouragement to you is, and I appreciate you guys taking time, if you know what that is that the Lord's putting his finger on right now, pray about it. Ask the Lord. And guys, remember this. A lot of times when we're going through pruning, it's so easy to say, woe is me. God don't love me. Why is he letting me go through this? Why do I have to struggle through this? But guys, it's in that pruning time that he is preparing you for greater things. And we as humans, a lot of times, Trace, we don't naturally give up some things that we're probably already fairly good at so that we can go and be great. So it doesn't come natural. And that's why we got to pray about it, lean into the Lord, ask him, God, what is it? And then let him do it. All right? So, guys, I don't want us to be going into 2026 when the spring market comes, because when the market heats up in spring, that's when things really begin to gravitate. That's when things get exciting. And I don't want us to be coming into 2026 in the spring of this year as a unit and us to just be kind of starting to get ready. I want us to be ready for 2026. I want us to be ready for growth. I want us to be ready to see clearly, to be ready to be focused, and be ready to have the best year of our lives. 2026 has the potential right now. This is the first full week of 2026, and it has in it the seed to be the best year you've ever had. And guess what, Dwayne? When you have a good year, it affects everybody around you. And so sometimes when you're going through that pruning, you know, God may be wanting to touch other people, but he's not quite able to, but he can you. And when people see what comes through you, yeah, you went through that awkward stage. You went through that change of, you know, being a carpenter to selling real estate. And so you're starting all over again. But you went through that awkward change. And when people look at that and they see you doing that, it gives them hope. It gives them faith. It gives them confidence that maybe one day they can do that too. And we're never too old to learn. It's never too late to try new things. I'm so impressed with you all. Kayla, so impressed with you purchasing your home. Renee, I know you're doing the same. Faith, I see you all. And I am so impressed with the work that's getting done in this room right here. Lives are being changed. And you know what? God said if we're faithful in little, he'll make us responsible for much more. God also talks about in that time right there, he says that some will bring forth much fruit. Some will bring forth a little fruit. You know, some will bring forth 30, some 60, some 100-fold. So it's up to you how much fruit you want to bring forth, but you got to let yourself be pruned, which means you got to be vulnerable, transparent. That's uncomfortable, and you got to be willing to go through awkwardness a little while. Which, you know, the blessing of me and Trace is we can be awkward. We are okay with that. So we can handle that pruning, right? But you got to be willing to allow that to happen. You got to be willing to lean into a little bit of the pain to experience the joy that comes with it. All right? Hope you all have a great 2026. Thank you for taking time to listen. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully, my main prayer is that when we finish here, that whatever that was that the Lord was putting his finger on, that it starts to move. It starts to move. You allow it to happen. And the cool thing is that if you do, you're well on your way to best year ever. And also those that are looking up to you, that are following behind you, they're going to see that and they're going to say, man, that's cool. Dad's cool. Mom's cool. I can't believe I still see him doing these great things at this time in life, because it should never stop. All right. Love you all. Thank you.